Now, I'm sure you've already heard about the Fox News interview that happened between Kamala Harris and Bret Baier, so I won't bore you with those details, and I kind of want to take a different angle in this. Stay with me. Many of the things that she had brought up in her interview, we've pretty much already debunked that, especially about the border. I go into extensive timeline detail about how all of that came about, so you can find that on my page. But I wanted to go into this one snippet that I saw that she said, and we're going to debunk all of this.
It's not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asking
no, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
You know, every single time I hear them say about Trump being a threat and dangerous to democracy, this one program comes in mind, which is the alleged CIA program, Operation Mockingbird.
He's running against a man who is an existential threat. Donald Trump is a plague on the American conscience and the American nation.
And Donald Trump is an existential threat that to whom the antidote is Joe Biden.
I think that Donald Trump is the most grave threat that we will face our democracy in our lifetime.
We have to make the case Donald Trump does continue to pose an existential threat to our democracy. Trump is an existential, urgent threat for our democracy.
Donald Trump cannot be president again. He's an existential threat to democracy.
Now that you see that the media, they all say the same thing, and then you don't want us to think that this is Operation Mockingbird, allegedly. All right, so let's now go through and break down all of the lies that the media have said over the years. The day one dictator, this is what he actually said.
You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except for
He's going crazy. Except for day one.
meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not
drill.
that's not retribution.
I'm gonna be, you know, he keeps, I love this guy. He says, you're not gonna be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So as you can see, he's really talking about executive orders. But I don't see any of y'all screaming and crying and saying that Joe Biden wasn't a dictator when he had overturned about almost 100 of executive orders on day one of Donald Trump's. Second one, the good people on both sides.
The fact-checking site Snopes finally debunking Democrats' claims that then-President Trump in 2017 called neo-Nazis and white nationalists, quote, very fine people. This was after a deadly protest in Charlottesville, Virginia, over the removal of a Confederate statue. Snopes now labeling that claim false, writing, quote, in a news conference after the rally, Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, referring to the protesters and the counter-protesters. He said in the same statement he wasn't talking about neo-Nazis and white nationalists, who he said should be condemned totally.
I hope you paid attention to the date because Snopes, which is their left-wing fact checker, came out and said this before both of the debates, before the Biden debate and Kamala Harris, but they still used it. Number three, and this is recently new, the enemy within. Let's see what he really said.
You have to know how to use them. But I protect you against outside enemies. But you know, I always say, we have the outside enemies. So you can say China, you can say Russia, you can say Kim Jong-un, you can say, but that's not, it's going to be fun. If you have a smart president, no problem. It's the enemy from within, all the scum that we have to deal with that hate our country. That's a bigger enemy than China and Russia. And I'll tell you, as an example with Russia, if I were president, the Ukraine-Russia situation would have never happened, October 7th in Israel would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. You had no inflation. Everyday Americans like Cindy are living in fear, all because Kamala Harris decided to empty the slums and prison cells of Caracas and many other places, happening all over the world, every country. You know, prison populations all over the world are down. Crime all over the world is down because they take the world's criminals, gang members, drug dealers, and they deposit them into the United States, bus after bus after bus.
As you can see there, they failed to give you context. He was in rural Colorado and they took 1 second of a snippet out of an hour and a half speech that he did speaking about illegal migrants and the crime rate in our country in rural Colorado. Number four is the suckers and losers. And unfortunately, I don't have anything to show you about this because he never said it. Enough said. Number five is the Central Park 5 lie. You can pause to read the article for yourself. I want to get through all of this, so I don't have much time to explain that, but I do want to go into the Central Park 5 case because I did see a clip about the former Eric Reynolds. He had debunked, or he had evidence. He even created a website of all the evidence of the actual footage of the Central Park 5 case, but we'll debunk that at a later date. Number 6 is the military force against peaceful BLM protests. Y'all must have forgot what happened. Take a look.
We're on 6th Avenue North. They've made their way to the Alabama Power Building.
There's somebody in there.
And that was happening in every major city in the U.S., so nothing peaceful about that. But this is what he really said. Take a look.
We cannot allow the righteous cries of peaceful protesters to be drowned out by an angry mob.
He was talking about rioters and looters, not the peaceful protest. But to close all of this out, there's no threat against the American people if Trump wins office. But what is a threat? It is to them. They have been weaponizing the justice system against President Trump since he's been out of office. So that's what they're scared of. They think that they're going to end up going to jail if he gets back into office. But the American people, we will be good.